I just want to start with your reaction because, of course, you take a look at the reaction in the stock market. It has been brutal right now. Is this an overreaction?
Yeah, and thanks for having me. We're saying yes, it does seem to be an overreaction, but I do understand why investors are, not happy with this data because exactly to your point, 25% weight loss, 25% weight loss, that's what the company's been saying for years, and it came in at 23%. So, and we don't have full information and context as to what necessarily drove that miss. We will find that out in the weeks ahead. But I think that a lot of this you really just comes down to credibility and missing the bar that they'd set.
So missing the bar, then how do they turn that credibility story around from here? What do you want to hear from them, especially if you think that this was an overreaction?
Yeah, importantly, what we need to find out, and we'll find out as more of the data is published in the coming weeks and months, is did they miss that bar because of the way the trial was designed? One thing that they told us, I spoke to the company this morning, was that only 57% of patients got to the maximum dose of CagriSema. You tend to lose the most weight when you're in the maximum dose. So did they miss that bar because patients were just kind of happy with the weight they lost and didn't go to the max dose, which would be a good thing, meaning that they probably could have gotten there had everyone gotten to that dose? Or did they not get to that dose because of side effects? We just don't know the answer to that question today. So I think people are just, kind of taking a negative view today.
I want to talk about positioning here because I think it's really stunning that you take a look at Novo versus Eli Lilly year to date. Novo shares with today's loss, of course, are now negative for the year, down 13%. But really, they've been having a tough time since the middle of the year. Then you take a look at Eli Lilly, and it's higher by 36% on a total return basis. And I think this chart really speaks to how fiercely competitive this industry is. Is Novo still the leader when you take a look at the field?
I mean, we've been thinking of this obesity market as really being a duopoly across these two companies, and that they'll probably, split market share for all intents and purposes in the years ahead and be far ahead of competitors. But, and I think this dovetails into why Novo's reacting the way it is today. Lilly just published a study a couple of weeks ago showing that Zepbound, you lose more weight than Wegovy. We know that that's been replicated in Lilly's own study. And so CagriSema was supposed to be better than Zepbound. The data presented today makes it look kind of the same. So we're not able to draw definitive conclusions today. Is CagriSema going to be better than Zepbound, or is it going to be just as good? It's still way better than Wegovy, but there's just still so much information that we need.
I'm also curious, given the disappointment that we're seeing today and the reaction, how sensitive is your price target at this juncture? What would cause you to change it, potentially to the downside?
Well, I mean, of course, we have to evaluate, all of the available information. But I think that one thing, and this is why we're defending the stock, is, CagriSema is not going to impact 2025 earnings. It's really important for beyond that. But I think today, looking at valuation, the stock's trading at 21 times next year's earnings, which is, a far greater, lower multiple than it's traded at in recent years. And, we're expecting 20% top line growth for next year. So we think that the obesity story for them is still fully intact, and that CagriSema still will be a phenomenal drug. It's just that, it just didn't hit this bar. So I think we're just all still trying to process that, to be honest.
Let's talk about another potential silver lining here. Again, you're not seeing any silver linings in the stock price this morning, down 20.5%. But side effects. CagriSema had a safe and well-tolerated profile in the trial, and most common adverse events were gastrointestinal. I thought that was interesting because, the side effects for not just Novo, but for Eli Lilly's drugs as well, that had been an intense topic of conversation. But it feels like the temperature has come down a little bit there.
Yeah, and in speaking to the company, they said they felt very comfortable with the side effect profile, and there was nothing in the press release to indicate that there were a far greater number of side effects with CagriSema than with semaglutide Wegovy alone. We'll find out the details to that when the data is presented, but I do think that that was one of the positive components of the press release.